Thank you very much, Laura. Welcome to the ELCS post-game lobby after a very exciting day in the summer split. I'm Shox here with a gloating Deficio.
He gets one prediction right out of like the whole split, and he's like, I'm the greatest analyst ever.
Wait, what was your prediction score today?
Last week.
What was your score today?
My
last week is
4 out of 5.
4 out of 5.
Right. Gents, this rivalry is important, but I want to introduce our guest for the
he's
very
here too.
first time on the ELCS post-game lobby. Upset. Thank you for joining us. Congratulations. Do you care? I mean, have you followed this like bet between the guys and,
Yes,
and the prediction?
all of Schalke have followed it.
Are
Every
you
single
disappointed in Thaddeus?
I mean, he was like really cocky after he voted us versus Misfits and they got the 1 point, and then he thought he can just vote whoever he wants and betray us. But Deficio knew. Even though he didn't know last time, now he knew that vote for Schalke, get the point.
I got wiser during the week.
Yes.
You know, last week I was dumb.
Yes.
If you have a chance and if you have any time on the VOD, we did a whole thing before the game where he fiercely defended Schalke. There was shouting involved, so maybe you want to take a look later. But on the game, I also had voted for Vitality, and I think I just thought it would be closer. But you guys seemed miles ahead of Vitality in this game. Why do you think it was so convincing?
I think we understand right now like really well how to play around side waves, and Nuke is helping us a lot in terms of shot calling too, and teaching us the game about controlling side waves. And if they overgroup, like Vitality basically just, if they don't know what to do, they go 5 mid. And meanwhile we have 2 waves pushing to us, so we push them out and we get like so much more farm and experience, and they don't even get anything mid. And the control they take from getting this 1 mid prior S5 is gone already because they have to catch sides. So basically, I think our macro game right now is quite good compared to theirs, and
Baron
felt kind of easy.
still needs a bit.
I mean, yeah, Baron is not part of our macro yet.
One thing at a time.
I mean, yeah.
I also want to highlight the first ban in the draft was huge. The Trundle ban.
Yeah.
Because the Vitality early game, now the Kindred is nerfed and Trundle was banned away, was so different from what we've seen in the last couple of games. So it's all about fighting the enemy jungler, you know, with the Trundle pick super often. Did not happen today. We saw 1 invade from Vitality. Body Slam misses from Kikis. Capture does not move, and you guys get like a couple of kills.
I mean, I don't want to take anything away from Kikis, because I think he played really well on Trundle, but we kind of knew that it's like his best champion, so if we take it away, he didn't even want to play Talia, which is like the most OP jungler, but actually I played with him in solo queue and he didn't seem that comfortable. And then they flexed Graga's jungle, even though Talia's like so OP. So we were pretty happy with how the draft went, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I would say so. As said, that Trundle was his absolute strongest champion for Kikis, and I was a bit taken aback by... I don't know if you guys caught it, but after the game, Kikis was just, he was doing like Reckless was doing after the World Championship last year when they got knocked out. He was just sitting on stage kind of looking at the monitor. I hope he doesn't take this too much, this doesn't get in his head too much, because this is only 1 loss now. But do you think he takes it harder because it's versus a Schalke, which is so close to them in the standings and is on the rise?
Probably. Also, he has that moment at the famous Baron where Amazing is dead, Kikis flashes over the wall, and then he actually misses the smite.
Yeah, Chachi Poppy was...
Exactly. Then Chachi gets to like 40 HP, and you can obviously look at this game and say, if that is a moment where Vitality gets the Baron instead, they probably catch up in gold, and you might have a much closer late game. But obviously, by them not getting the Baron, yes, they got a bunch of kills after, but they couldn't get an objective from it. Schalke still remained in the lead after that, so he might be extremely pissed.
The reason I say it is because it's always very easy when there's a substitution coming in and you're the guy who's calling the shots and you're winning. Now we'll just have to see tomorrow how they bounce back from this first loss in the end with Kikis. Don't want to be too much of a negative. Nancy, did you have something?
Yeah, I mean, I think what's also not to underestimate is that if a new player joins a team, there will always be a honeymoon phase.
True.
And if they lose today, it might take a lot of momentum from them, especially because this game was actually really important for the standings, I think.
Yeah. Man, your honeymoon with Amazing must have sucked. You guys lost games.
Our honeymoon was terrible.
I almost broke up with him again.
Yeah, it was terrible, but now it's pretty good, yeah.
How have you noticed the improvement and kind of the synergy with Amazing over the weeks?
I mean, I think in the start it took some time getting used to play with each other, and also his game knowledge was, he didn't play competitive for like quite a long time.
He became a caster, he went downhill from there.
That
exactly.
really does drag you down.
So he wasn't on the same game knowledge level as, for example, Nuktak in our team, but I think he is really good at adapting and understanding how people want to play in the team. And once he had figured this out, he could also take more of a shot calling role again. Because in the start it was hard for him because he didn't really know how we want to play. He had his own ideas, but now that he understands the game like on a high level again, he can help us much more with the communication, and I think you can see it now that we accept Barons. Our shot calling is pretty good.
Yeah, you guys look extremely scary. Before we move on, I just want to talk about you a little bit. We highlighted you in the beginning of the show because I feel like we haven't talked too much about Upset so far, and some of that has to do with the fact that last split was a disappointment for Schalke and for you. How do you feel right now? Do you feel you're living up to your famed potential?
I mean, with this format, there's like 2 games per week, and then you just go here, you play, and then you go home again, and you play like so many games. So I think my level is really high, but sometimes like you just have 2 games, and then you don't show it on these games, and you're like annoyed the whole week, or you have a bad day, or stuff like this can happen easily. I think this split I'm playing quite good in the team sense, and I think last split I had like a lot of weird mistakes that like just randomly I die suddenly at 40 minutes and we can't end the game, like versus G2 especially. This stayed in my mind for quite a long time. But I think I'm playing quite good, but also we have Nuktak in our team, and he's like has insane champion pool and plays like a lot of exciting stuff, so people don't look too much at me, I think, which is totally fine for me. I'm happy that we're just playing good as a team and winning.
We were thinking that maybe so much expectation on you in spring. That's not easy. We also knew you were ill for a while, and then it's hard to come back. Is it easier now that Nuktak is taking all the fame and all the spotlight?
I mean, I think everyone likes to get praise from time to time, but I'm really fine with it.
Here we go. I think you've been playing amazing in the last couple of weeks. Unfortunately, Nuktak is player of the game. 47% of the votes.
Of course, he picks new champ, like he picks Akali. He doesn't even need to do anything. Just I had 40k damage this game, but it's fine.
So Upset, settle this for us. We've been talking about Akali, but now she's been played today by Perks, by Caps, and by Nuktak. Like what the best mid laners probably in the league. But what do you think about her for competitive?
I think she's really OP. It's unbelievable how much damage she does at level 6 already. It doesn't really make sense, and her W is ridiculous too. So I don't know. I think this champ is just way too OP.
For me, I still feel the teams haven't figured out how to punish her laning phase just yet. I do think that it is her biggest weakness, and that there are a couple matchups that can abuse her. But
you mean level 1 to 5? Because
at
6,
1 to 5.
Yeah, no. At 6, I definitely agree with you.
Yeah.
But there are windows that you can look to punish.
Yeah, but I mean, if that's the
gank
laning
at level
phase,
2 and she W's, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, and then she kills you on level 6 as well. We'll have to see. The jury's still out. We'll see tomorrow if she
She's
gets
definitely strong, and we will continue to see her in pro play. I still think that right now, because she's new and people realize how good she is, people haven't had time to figure out ways to deal with her yet. But I still believe there are ways to deal with her, and they just need to show up.
But I also think she has like really high skill cap. So
for sure,
not just people have to figure out how to play against her, but when people figure out how to play her really good herself, then with these stats, I think it's not balanced right now.
Because what's interesting, the first 2 games, she was not picked or banned.
She wasn't.
At all. So it seemed like, oh, okay. Maybe Akali was just like hyped up from solo queue, and that was it. And then Perks, then Caps, then Dark. I was like, oh, yes, here we go. Okay, so tomorrow we might get a pick and ban Akali every game.
Yeah, it was interesting to see. It was one of our big news points coming into the day. Will we see Akali? Another big news point, to no one's surprise, was Reckless is back. He played his first game in 6 weeks with Fnatic versus Giants, and, well, they won. They won pretty convincingly. Solid performance, I would say. He did a ton of damage. It was all about Caps' Akali, but are we happy with the return, Vetty?
I think he played fine. I definitely, yeah. I mean, he did die 2v2 in lane. We
didn't talk about that.
Yeah, we don't. He did. His positioning in late game fights was also fine. But to me, this game was much more about Hylissang and Caps, and the playmaking that they made, the impact that he had roaming around the maps and setting up Caps to get a bunch of kills.
What our narrative?
Like, yeah, I know. Reckless. He's just finding his footing right now.
I'm completely kidding.
And the team around him is playing well. They're showing the growth they've made without him, and he just needs 1 or 2 games to get back into the groove.
I don't actually want to do this because I can already hear the people tweeting at us. Can you stop?
You never know when it's a joke and when it's serious.
Yeah, this was definitely a joke, guys, because, well, Upset for us, the big question was, well, Fnatic Fnatic is so good without Reckless. What do you think of the move to bringing him back now in week 8?
I mean, I don't like seeing Reckless on Ezreal too much. I think he plays much better on crit ADs, but I think it's still a really good move for Fnatic because Reckless brings much more consistency and late game potential for the team. I don't know if it's just because AD carries are just really strong in late game and scale better, or if it's like his communication that helps them a lot more in late game, but I think with him it's more organized, and I think Caps and Weepo have been saying too that it's like a pillar for the team and that they can rely on him. And maybe this will take some pressure too from Weepo and Caps to make a lot of plays, because when Reckless was not there, they were just playing so loose and all-inning every time. And
oh yeah, it was aggressive.
Weepo was quite aggressive.
I mean, he said in the video Fnatic made that they released when Reckless returned, when he's walking on the street, he's talking about how the thing he wants to bring that Weepo is currently not bringing is like maybe the more supportive, style. Yeah. So the Ezreal pick itself was not picked to obviously hard stomp the bottom lane. It actually allowed Hylissang, if he wanted to, play more towards mid lane.
Is this positive? Because our big question was it was all resources and Caps all the time. So the fact that it's in his first game back, he does that.
I think that's positive until we start seeing people draft like Tristana and like crit AD carries again. You don't need to put a lot of attention towards the bottom lane. So it's actually better if your support can go mid lane and get a kill for your Akali in there. So I think that made a lot of sense, and yeah, I guess maybe it makes Fnatic a bit more consistent but less explosive to run with Reckless, and then you can decide, do you want the all-in 5-man bruiser comp that just runs you down completely, or do you want a little bit more safety by running an AD carry bot lane?
Something. Oh, sorry.
Ezreal seems like a bandage pick, because like you said, your support can still roam a lot, and that's how they used to play. But when he will start playing like Xayah Rakan, I think it will be a different Fnatic again, and they probably will try to play around the bot push more.
And now in best of fives, before, when the Weepo thing first got introduced, they would always stick with the same thing for the whole best of 5. I can see it happening more now that they, in this best of 5, make those changes. They can change the top laner, but maybe they put in Weepo and they go for this all-in run-over-you comp with a mage in the bot lane. I think the possibility is there, but I'd love to know from you guys if you think they'll actually do that or if it's going to be Reckless now for the rest of the split.
I think it depends on the matchup, and it also depends on how well Reckless adapts, because we haven't seen him play for a while. And not playing competitively and not partaking in all the scrims, we know for a fact can impact your ability to perform on stage. While he is definitely an experienced veteran player, I think we saw a couple of examples today where he's not quite playing at the top level. So give it a couple of weeks, see how he does, and then coming into playoffs, maybe you throw him into a couple of games, but based on how I've seen Fnatic play, I'd be a little more confident in Weepo right now, personally.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that over the next few weeks he can't develop more into the role and just figure out his responsibilities in the squad.
Also should depend on the... So I believe the next patch will be the playoff patch.
Yes, 8.16 is playoffs.
So 8.16 will be the playoff patch. Like, if there's more things happening around the bottom lane there, because you should still be able to play certain mages bot, which means you have a reason to put Weepo down the bottom lane. If he's just going to play only AD carries, you might as well play Reckless, the way I'm looking at it. So as long as you can still play like certain mages, you can put him in. If we get another thing on 8.16 that makes AD carries even more favored, then I don't see much of a reason to not run Reckless.
Quick question, kind of related but not to the league. Has this patch opened our eyes? Because
8.15?
Well, just in general, the fact that mages and AD carries were played in the bottom lane due to the changes, but it's going back to mostly ADs, I would say. But you say you can still pick mages, and I feel like we needed kind of a paradigm shift, because you could very well still pick these things if you have a certain strategy to roll over them. And I think maybe, I don't know, it's opened up kind of a world for the teams possibly upset. What do you think?
I think right now most teams prefer AD carries, especially if they don't have like a Weepo situation, for example. But I mean, some mages still seem really strong, and if you pick a mage, it's just a different playstyle because you can free up your support a lot. So it kind of depends what your drafting plan is, and flexing champs is still really strong, obviously, on red side, but most teams prefer blue side right now. But I think Ryze, Vlad, some secret
Swain.
picks. Yeah, Swain, of course, all still viable bot, and we'll see play.
Interesting. I mean, I hope it. I think it's a nice kind of spice added to the possible draft. In any case, let's move on and take a look at the standings. I don't want to linger at them too long because we also got your predictions for playoff teams. But as we look at the standings in just a second, Schalke, man, now locked in playoffs, now in second place effectively. Are we now all on the hype train? VODS.
Yeah, I mean, so
I got a bunch of tickets backstage.
I will say that today I did call Schalke a good team, and I did believe that they would make playoffs. I've always believed they would make playoffs. I believed in them last week too. I just thought that Vitality's playstyle would get the better of them, and they drafted well. The one thing I didn't account for was what both the Fisher and Upset highlighted, which is Kicker's champion pool, which is fair enough, right? I admit being wrong this time, but I am all aboard the fact that they will be a good team, and I think that they will be a contender for top 4 coming into playoffs.
I would go even further and say at this point in time,
you're fighting for first place.
It looks like a Fnatic Schalke final. Boom!
Yeah, tomorrow Misfits G2 play too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they play each other.
So one of them will lose for sure.
They knock each other out.
And we play Giants, so I think we have.
You guys have a really good schedule.
Yeah, then we
This
play
is your hardest game. You have Splice and
I know.
HDK. Like, I am smelling worst case second place, best case first place for Schalke right now. There is no other position they will
Wait, because no.
No, in the regular
Okay,
season.
I was going too far.
First place is really hard just because Fnatic's strength of schedule as well.
That's why I'm saying, so
Yeah, and
that requires Fnatic to lose, which is not very likely. But if Schalke do not get second place with the remaining 3 games, then I'm disappointed. I'm calling that a failure on Schalke's
Can you not entertain my thought of the Fnatic Schalke fight?
I can see that.
Oh no, that
I
could
can see it
actually happen.
100%.
That can definitely happen.
If they get the bye going straight into the second week, right there, they sit in the semifinal. They will have to play
Caster curse,
at G2 or a Misfits or a Vitality, most likely in that BU5. They can win that for sure.
In the current form of G2, Misfits, Vitality, who you just beat, and Splice, do you see anyone standing in your way to the final?
I mean, honestly, the performances were like really weak today from all. I mean, I think Vitality played fine. We just had better macro, but I think Misfits played super poorly today with subbing in Jazzes, which should bring them stability, but I would rather see Mickey on Rome probably. And then G2, they played versus Unicorns, right?
Yes.
And Unicorns got like 2 Barons, but they couldn't close out the game because they didn't understand their comp well, I think. And Splice is not that scary either, so I think if we keep practicing and staying focused, then we should be able to go to finals, I think.
Wow, what an incredible story that would be if we look at the entire year for Schalke. We're not there yet. We still have a lot of games and 3 games left for each team. So I asked you guys to give me your predictions for the top 10.
Earlier
and
today,
more importantly, the top 6. Deficio, yours is up first, I believe. So let's take a look where you have everyone at the end of week 9. Fnatic and Schalke Nulfear on 1 and 2, followed by G2, Misfits, Team Vitality, and Splice, which is kind of how it is now, and the teams falling out of playoffs, which are expected and which are mathematically quite sure to be there.
Yeah, so Vitality at 5, I don't know if that's too harsh or not. It's just because they're a win behind.
Yeah, it's the main reason is because they're a win behind Misfits, but both Misfits and Vitality have to play G2, and in this scenario, you're expecting G2 to beat them both, right?
I think just early prediction of like G2 beating Vitality, right? So they step above them, as you said, with Misfits as well. And then we end like this. Like Splice is kind of hanging on at the bottom. They're not actually part of the Cool Kids Club towards the top just yet. But I'm pretty damn confident in my number 1 and 2 at the moment. That was the first 2 I instantly logged in and said, this is how it's going to be, before they even played Vitality.
So, interestingly now, I want to know what VODS picked.
Mine's wrong, though!
Because
I was going off the assumption that Vitality would win.
There we go.
So because I thought Vitality would win, right? But I thought that they would lose to G2. G2 would sit in the second place spot because I expect them to be Misfits tomorrow. And because of how Misfits is in the standings, they would sit above Vitality and Schalke.
Wow, so it was kind of a domino effect when
Yes,
Schalke
basically.
Wait, so you think G2 is going to beat Misfits?
tomorrow, yeah.
I thought you told me you were going to go Misfits.
I said that before I saw them play today.
Oh,
and then I decided that G2 was going to win.
Okay.
So, Upset, what do you think? Do you prefer the officials? I guess you do.
Yeah,
I prefer officials.
We all prefer the officials. Now, as danger with always being on a hype train is that it's a bit of a curse, you know. Now everyone is looking at Schalke. Now it's okay. It's the real deal. They're there. Everyone's performing. So we'll see what happens.
Hopefully there is nowhere to crash along the way. Just get to the end station.
H2K is scary, bro.
I mean,
True.
they actually have played better.
Yeah.
Like, there was a very interesting tweet today from, I believe it was Selfie, highlighting specifically how once Kadril joined the team, they've actually started doing a lot more, especially in the early game, because
100%.
he's making a lot of those calls. Because some people were flaming him for the game today for, I don't know what dumb reason. Like, there was no reason to flame Kadril at all. But adding him has added something to a team that, despite it being forced to make so many changes, have actually still, in the last couple of games, looked way better than in the first 5-6 weeks. So,
Did this have the superior analyst for both or just for the fish show?
oh, that's probably just for
Which
me.
it changed it to
We're the
just...
same predictions, production.
But
We're both at the
recently, who
top.
was right? You got to look at the last week. That's what decides the tie.
But this would also mean we'd have a Misfits Vitality quarterfinal and a G2 Splice quarterfinal.
Yeah,
That's
and then, so G2 beats Splice in that one. Even though Splice in BO5 might be scary. But anyway, G2 beats that one if you just go off the current ranking. And then G2 will play Schalke in that semifinal.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That would be hype.
I'll take it.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, sure.
all the matches are looking hype, I think. I mean, not like a promotion bot for the playoffs.
Reckless.
But because one of the things that we find, I was saying how, you know, if Roccat was able to beat Splice, it would be more interesting for like the fluctuation of the standings and whatnot. But in the end, you want your top 6 to be the teams that have been consistently the best. I think that's hard to say for Vitality and Splice, but we can agree that they are at least stronger than Roccat and Giants, and they should translate that to best of 5s, I guess.
Splice always say they are not a strong BO1 team. They kind of value the prep and the adaptation between games. I mean, they got 3rd place last split. They won
also,
that last
it was
BO5.
3-1 against G2 in the
It was
semis
3-1 in the
last time.
semis.
But it was
I feel like
pretty
last
brutal.
split the teams were also a lot worse. I think now you can't just pick like Zillion and farm for 50 minutes and win the game this way.
Not yet.
And I mean, maybe if Riot like wants to patch like this, but even Rocket H2K dropping out, I think shows that a lot of teams improved, especially Misfits and us, I guess, are the most improved teams for the split. So
100%.
It seems like our top 5 seems a lot stronger. And if Splice gets a good patch, they can be a strong team too. So.
I 100% agree. Getting Misfits and Schalke, 2 teams where we looked at lineups last split and said, these guys should be always fighting for playoffs. Like, how are these lineups not doing it?
Yeah.
Getting them actually to fulfill that potential, even depending on, like, it doesn't matter what's happening with Misfits right now. Like, that is super important. And it will set up at playoffs where we might think, Schalke, of course they're going to win this BU5, but there's so many good players on a lot of these different teams and very big coaching staffs behind a lot of them as well. Like, the prep for that one BU5 is going to be so crucial. And it'll actually be super hard to predict who's going to win.
Agree. Only 2 weeks away from that. A bit less, a week and a half, because we already had 1 day. Let's take a look at the second day of the Summer Split, week 8. Tomorrow, our match of the week is G2 versus Misfits, coming up in the 4th game of the day. Unlucky that they were both... Actually, no, G2 was very good today.
They both won today.
Yes, but Misfits kind of... It was that gif of the dog that's like limping and then at the end, so we'll see. Any other matches that jump out to you guys? Giants can be a tricky one. Upset, they've shown some good things. You guys are playing them tomorrow. What do you think?
Yeah, we should definitely not underestimate them. I mean, today they got really stomped by Hilly Pike, but we should not get cocky and like, we should just play to our strengths, and I think it should be still a fine match for us. Yeah, I mean, G2 Misfits is kind of interesting, even though today was kind of de-hyped the match for me, because they both played like quite bad versus lower tier
That's what makes the
teams.
game more interesting.
I mean, it makes it more close, but it was
I mean, hey, they could try and smite a Baron and then a Poppy steals it with 42 HP. That could result in a kind of crazy game we're looking forward to tomorrow.
So hopefully, positive mindset tomorrow. They've both cleaned up their act and they give us a competitive best one.
It's got to be competitive.
I think it will definitely be competitive.
But not Clown Fiesta competitive, like competitive.
Maybe some Hans Draven. to hype it up too.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
Yeah, we'll see. Fnatic Splice, you know.
Some news.
Wait, did you know Reckless is back?
No, he's out. He's out.
Oh,
What?
He's out
what
again.
are you doing?
I'm not joking. We got the official information. Reckless is out, so as is back in, so Bwipo will probably back be in. So I'm very glad that we talked about
Show
it.
was cancelled.
We talked about it in ReadyCheck. We gave it another intro in the intro, and then obviously, and then we gave it a very long interview. So we took all the Reckless we could, and now he's back out.
I think for tomorrow we will rerun the Fnatic Giants game, and in the PIP we will have the Fnatic Splice game happening. And then it's not. So one thing I will add: Youngbuck tweeted before the week started saying that they'd already, I believe he said, they'd already decided the roster for day 2. So it didn't matter what was going to happen today.
Smart.
So it seemed like it was planned from the start that it was still going to be Bwipo bot lane, and we might just get, you know, the Fnatic we saw the last couple of weeks.
So does it not change? Fnatic should beat Splice then, also with Bwipo in the bot lane?
Yeah, for sure. Fnatic is, I think, the strongest team right now. Their early game is like really insane, and their individual players are really good too. So I think Fnatic is favored for sure.
What do you think about Splice? Because when we watch Splice, it's like, it feels like very little is happening for a lot of it, and they're kind of waiting for the other team to make a mistake before they really pull the trigger on it.
Yeah.
Spring split shotgun.
Not really. Oh, come on. I mean, I'm really not a fan how Splice drafts and plays. I think they're very rarely proactive, and when Odo was getting ahead earlier and Xerxes was getting stuff done, it looked like a good team and scary. But right now, I think they draft like a lot of losing lanes, and they don't really do too much, and then the enemy team is too bad, and then they win.
I mean, today they had LeBlanc and they had Nah, and they didn't even get, there was no action for the first 15 minutes.
This Rocket game was like so doomed for them, I think, and then suddenly they just got like a random team fight. And I mean, Splice, they just get one team fight, and then suddenly they win the game, and like, wow, we are best in late game XD.
They did that versus Mystics too, right? Like,
I don't know.
It's
they get
definitely
some lucky wins,
yeah, Splice style is the late game style, which has really not been in the meta all summer. So unless it drastically changes towards playoffs, then it would be hard to predict Splice to like be the big favorites there. But
And on a positive note about anything. Come on.
the other 5 teams, however, will love the playoffs because they're all playing more aggressive in the game. Also,
That's
Splice
right.
can actually still surprise us there.
Great.
For sure.
Yeah,
Yes.
you shouldn't underestimate Splice. I think they still have good players. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. We have to say
Positive.
that sometime.
Reckless
Positive note.
played today.
More positive is that there's any LCS Academy. It's already started, I think. Great. Waiting for us, so we just have to wrap it up. Cloud9 versus Clutch Gaming. And then in case you didn't catch everything from the EU LCS, we'll have a rebroadcast after the show in NA. You heard it. We've got more League of Legends coming, so that'll be it from us. Upset, thank you so much for
Thanks for having me.
us. Lovely to hear from you.
Thank you for winning.
Thank
No
you for
problem.
winning. And thank you to my analysts as well. We'll be back
And
tomorrow
videos.
for more fights in the EU LCS. Have a great night. Bye. Juicy.
Goodbye.
Enough damage to take this down. It's going to be coming down to a smite fight, and it's secured by Momentum. Can they win the fight? Odo1 gets a Gnar over the wall, and in goes Niski to shut down Hikyu and Nordscaret. Splice pull a most critical win in the race for playoffs. Ensemble looking to come on in. There's the barrel pop. Maxwell will have a chance to come over the wall, try to get the steal off. It's gonna go! He spotted early, but he got it anyways. Misfits, that is how you turn it around. This team sits in first place in the EU LCS.
So easy. Don't say that to Bedia.
Oh, let's go! Oh, yay!
G2, find the fight, the stun. Samux gobbled up, gets out, back alive. Cold down now, and Perks dives in. 1, 2, goodbye! Hasn't happened that much. So while no ganks happen, and while a fight happens in the bottom lane, Reckless has to flash away, steal back.
Oh!
Hella damage! Betsy Beauty falls in the mid lane as well. Caps with the 1v1. The return of Reckless ends up in victory. And Fnatic are going to take top spot with Misfits.
Yeah.
The paranoia, the darkness, the jump in from New Doug, straight onto the backline, into the Twilight Shroud as well. Have the kill upset, because he's going for your Nexus, he's going for the win. And that's exactly what Schalke do.